Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your FA Cup preview as Manchester United take on Leicester in Friday night football, which funnily enough is on Friday night. I also want to pick up on something from the January transfer window. The show last night was good, some really good debates on it, but there's one debate that you've been moaning about that I'm not going to let go, and we will talk about that in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about this FA Cup game against Leicester. Absolutely massive, I suppose, in the sense that we win the game. Do we think Dorgu will make his debut? Do we think we'll see some young players involved? Obi Martin may be involved as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he is actually. But let's not forget, we have to take this game seriously. And let's not forget, Leicester have lost 7 of their last 8 Premier League games and are bloody dreadful. So if they come to Old Trafford and beat us, I think you're getting to the point where as much as I'm behind Amrim and I want him to do well, I think these are the sort of games where it gets beyond a joke. And I want to say that. I think this whole Moyes is winning games at Everton and Amrim's not winning it at Man United. Obviously, we know that's a stylistic choice. David Moyes' system is quite easy to pick up, whereas Amrim's system is very hard to pick up. But it does get to a point, I would admit, where if you're struggling to beat Leicester at home, then you really have got a problem with these players. And it would be on the players. It would be bloody embarrassing. So we have to start winning games like this because, as we know, the Cups are going to be massively important. So let's get into the lineup. Let's get into the game. And I will talk to you about that thing as well. Get your comments in as well, because I think some of you are thinking, let's play the youth. I'm thinking, let's win the bloody game. If we're going to play the youth, you play the youth in the league. I mean, there's topic one. If you want to start messing around with the team, then surely you do that in the league where we're stranded in the bottom half of the table and we're not really going to go any higher. I don't think we should be rotating in a cup that if we win it, it gets us into Europe when the league can't. You've just got to look at the pathways into Europe, basically. You get a passport in the Europa League, you get a passport in the FA Cup, and in the Premier League, it's Brexit FC. We're not going anywhere in Europe. We can't get into Europe from the Premier League. So if you want to rotate, you want to try things out, that is the place to do it, like you did last week with the Manu experiment, which hopefully we won't do again. As you can see, though, before I get into that, very quickly, our live show is in the March international break on Wednesday, the 19th of March in Dublin. Massive venue, lots going on in that, and already a massive response to the ticket sales. We are over halfway, and this venue holds 1,200, so it's going to be the biggest show we've ever done. People are coming in outside of Dublin. We've noticed that in the demographics, so get your tickets while you can. Brilliant venue. Doesn't actually matter where you sit because it's a raised 3-tier venue right in the middle of Dublin, right in the middle of Temple Bar, which is the tourist area as well. So check it out, get your tickets while you can. Looking forward to seeing you there. Scan the QR code or go through the link in the description. Big up to that. Right, let's talk about Leicester. Let's talk about Manchester United. Well, first of all, we are obviously playing against Ruud van Nistelrooy, who incredibly, some people think he should have got the job. I mean, yeah, it's going really well at Leicester. Ruud should have kept the job. Yeah, I don't think he should. But look, I want Ruud to do well at Leicester, and I think if they were to sack him before the start of next season, it would be incredibly harsh. I think it's very similar to what Man United have done with Amrim and Ruud van Nistelrooy, really. You throw him into a mission impossible. I don't know why, but it's all about next season. So for me, Ruud van Nistelrooy at Leicester is about building next season when they can actually win games. As I said, 7 losses out of their last 8 games is incredibly bad. They've had some bad performances. Obviously, they got beat by Everton, funnily enough, at the weekend, 4-0. Their only win was Spurs away. Well, we're very Spursy, so maybe we should be aware of that. But their away record this season in the Premier League is they've only scored 14 goals in 12 games. They've conceded 32. So then their average score is a 3-1 loss away from home. And they've only won 2 games away from home all season. So as much as we're bad at home, and we are bad at home, I think that we have to be winning this game. Now, as you can see in my lineup, I haven't put Dorgu in there. That's not because we haven't got a Dorgu player yet. I'm sure that's going to start. People are going to go, he's only not put Dorgu in because he's forgotten to get a piece of Dorgu artwork to put him in the team. That would be true if it was true. But actually, I don't think he'll start him. And I hope he does. I really hope he does. Because remember, Dorgu is fit. Remember, it's halfway through the season. And he is not a youth player like Heaven, who's never played for Arsenal really. This is a guy that's cost £20 million, who's been playing for Lecce week in, week out, and is one of their better players. And it's the middle of the season, so there's nothing about match fitness or anything like that. Really, he should go straight into the team. And this is the sort of game where you would hopefully throw him in, because our next game isn't for another week. There's no midweek game for us next week. So I think Dorgu starting is very much a punt as to whether you think he will or he won't. I was like, I want to put him in, but actually, we don't know enough about Amrim yet. We don't know what he's all about. Is he just going to chuck him in because he's desperate to get something down that left-hand side, which is probably what I would do. I don't really see the reason not to. Or do you gradually feed him in and give him like the second half or something like that? And I just think, looking at that team I've picked, he might do it. I certainly don't want to see him playing left-sided centre-back. I'll cry. I'll cry about that because obviously we don't have Martinez. So, I mean, there was some talk of Luke Shaw, wasn't there? Did I not hear Beth talking about Luke Shaw in the FA Cup squad? I don't know whether that was true. I don't know whether that was true. I'll have a look at that while we're talking about this. But I think that on the assumption that we don't know what Amrim does with new signings because this is his first new signing, on that assumption, I've gone that he'll put Delo back at left back, he'll put Ahmad on the right, which I think is actually imperative. Regardless of how this pans out, I really do think that we can't keep doing the back five thing at home. I know sometimes we might want to, but I really do think that we need to be utilising the attacking elements of the team. And I think Ahmad actually, and another second debate point, where do you think Ahmad's best? Do you think he's better off the right, or do you think he's better off as a 10? I think he is better off as a 10, and I think that is where we should be utilising him, because I think he's better off the right, because that's where I think we get more out of Ahmad, and then that allows you to play Mainu and Garnacho, who I think work quite well in the 10 position. I'm not saying Ahmad's not better than Garnacho or Mainu in the 10. What I'm saying is it really comes down to this. I want as many attackers on the pitch as I can because we don't create enough chances. So if the way to get Ahmad, Garnacho and Mainu in an attacking position is to put Ahmad on the right, then that's what I would do. Obviously, that means there's no Mazraoui in this team again. And at some point that might need to happen because surely we want competition for places. So maybe Mazraoui could play. Maybe Delo doesn't play and Dorgu plays, and Delo and Mazraoui are on the bench. Because the thing is, if you put Dorgu in the team, Delo and Mazraoui for me have to be on the bench because I can't keep putting them at fullback or wide. I want to get some width. And I think it's going to massively change the team. I mean, this could be a big game for Xerxes if you put Ahmad on the right and Dorgu on the left. But defensively, we don't have Martinez. So it is. This came in that Luke Shaw is expected to be back in the matchday squad for the FA Cup tie against Leicester. I mean, I don't know. That seems a bit... that was just floating around yesterday. And we know some things that float aren't necessarily good. So I don't know whether Luke Shaw is going to be in the squad, but he certainly wouldn't be starting anyway, so he's certainly not going to go into this team. If Luke Shaw was fit, I'd probably put him where Maguire is and put Maguire where De Ligt is and put De Ligt where Yoro is, but I've gone with Maguire has played left side in a back three for England many times. He's played left-sided centre-back for Manchester United many times. He actually isn't too bad at bringing the ball out from the back, so in the absence of Martinez, I think Maguire fits the bill the best as the left-sided centre-back. That puts De Ligt centrally and Yoro to the right. I don't think it's ideal. I think we might find over the next few weeks that we become defensively weaker without Martinez because the balance of Martinez, Maguire and De Ligt was our best back three. But it is what it is. Into the midfield, I think it will be Bruno and Agate. I can't see anything else. You might want to use Collier, but that goes back to what I was saying at the start, and I'd be interested in your comments. Why would you be rotating, weakening your team in a tournament you need to win? And we are the holders in this tournament. We fought hard against Arsenal to get through. I don't see the FA Cup for Manchester United as a mess about. I don't see it as a rotational tournament. I know it has been traditionally in the past, and it is for some teams, but if I'm ranking what's important to Manchester United this season, it's Europa League, FA Cup, and then Premier League. We're not going to get relegated, and we're not going to get in the top half of the table. So if you want to rotate in the Prem. Don't rotate in the Cup. We've got to take it very seriously, and hopefully we can beat Leicester and avoid another big team in the next round and, somehow grind our way through to the semi-final final and maybe get ourselves into Europe that way as well. But we've got 2 shots at Europe, and as I said last night, I don't know what people are talking about. I've seen some right shit about PSR and the spin is unbelievable. You've got people who've got no access to the football club talking about we'll be fine in the summer to spend money even if we're not in Europe. And I'm like, mate, you haven't got a bloody clue what you are on about. You haven't got a clue what you're on about. You are so lost up in Ineos's arse, you don't know what you're talking about. And there's so many accounts doing it. There's the Manchester Evening News talking about it. I'll come back to that in a minute. But as I say, the point in this is that we can't be rotating too much. So I would go Bruno and Ugarte. Rotate when you're 3-0 up. Garnacho and Mainu behind Xerxes. And that completes what I think is our team. Now, if Dorgu plays, you just take Delo out. But can you see a scenario where Delo and Mazraoui don't start? So I want us to be more attacking. There's one thing I would say. Against Crystal Palace, we used the Mazraoui Delo wide, the more defensive approach. We couldn't score, and eventually Palace scored, and we lost 2-0. If we'd put Ahmad on the right from the start, and put Mainu with Garnacho, and put Xerxes or Rasmus up front, does it matter if we still lose 2-0? And that's my point. We went for defensive stability like we did against Fulham. We were very lucky against Fulham. Very lucky. We didn't necessarily deserve to win the game. I don't think we deserved to lose it, but we didn't. We could have lost it. We could have won it. We won it. We probably should have drew it. I think we tried to do that against Palace, and we flipped the coin, and this time we lost. My point is that the defensive approach didn't work against Crystal Palace, and we didn't create hardly any chances. I think you may as well have a go than go defensive, and that's what I want to see Man United do. Leicester have lost 7 of their last 8 Premier League games. This has to be a win. The FA Cup and the Europa League are a priority. And still, I'm going to put my flag in the air and say I'm hoping for performance. Performance is as important as results now. We have to start playing better football because we cannot win the Europa League or the FA Cup without performance. You just can't grind your way to winning these trophies anymore. It's just not going to work. Other teams have performance. We need to start finding performance. What I'll leave you with is, and the final debate about the team is, your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes in that pivot. I think it's dangerous. I think the mainstream are going to start picking up on it soon. I think we've spoken about it a lot. Do the positives outweigh the negatives? The negatives are he doesn't have any defensive discipline. He doesn't have any positional discipline. And his passing doesn't have discipline either. So I think Bruno playing deeper is a way to get him in the team so that you can play Mainu or Garnacho or Ahmad as a pair. I think we'd be better with Ugarte and Collier as the hold, but I think he's got to find a place for Bruno, and I don't think Bruno has the discipline, and I think teams are getting at us, and I think Ugarte got overrun against Palace because of it, but that's a start for 10 on that. Let me talk to you just very, very quickly about some of the things that we picked up on last night. And remember, I'm back live with you tonight at 7 because it's Arsenal-Newcastle second leg Carabao Cup on That's Football at 8. But a few points last night we were talking about that I didn't agree with in relation to the bringing Pogba back, changing the tactics, throwing the youth in. I just don't agree with it. And as you can see, I'm not throwing any youth into a game like this. I think it's incredible to do that in the FA Cup or the Europa League when we're trying to win tournaments. I wouldn't be doing that. I think they've got to prove their position, and if they're good enough, you get in the team. That's the way it should be. But I did read something in the Manchester Evening News that really caught my eye this morning, and it was that Manchester United made the right decision on transfer deadline day to not move for TEL, and this deal that has come to light, that Manchester United were right to avoid getting TEL on a 10 million loan fee. And a lot of people probably agree with that, but they were basically saying that Man United are right not to do that deal. And I want to just make this very, very clear. There's been a lot of figures being flown around, and I've said before that it's really important that people figure out what the euros to pounds conversion is. A lot of people yesterday were talking about £12 million, £10 million. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed it's 10 million euros, which is £8.3 million. We can't keep using euros to inflate things and then pounds to make it sound cheap. So it was £8.3 million that Spurs have spent on TEL between now and the end of the season. And it's not 3 months either, it's 5. I don't know what people are talking about. It's the end of May, isn't it? So May, April, March, 4 months. 4-month loan at £8.3 million. Okay. Apparently, according to the Manchester Evening News, Manchester United are right not to do this deal. And obviously the spin masters on Twitter and everywhere else are all saying it's not the right deal. I don't think this is exclusively the wrong deal to have done. I don't, actually. Now that the facts have come out, I don't agree with it, because we got, and the Manchester Evening News reported this, because Dortmund got to the Champions League final, we ended up getting around, according to a Manchester Evening News article, 7 million from Dortmund for Sancho. But they also covered, I think, all, if not most, of his wages. Now, how much was Sancho on? I forget. Was it 250 grand a week, 300 grand a week? So last year, we got from Dortmund, a Bundesliga side, close to 7 million and, 300 grand a week covered? So what's that? 300 grand a week? I mean, let's say it's 250 grand a week. That's $1 million a week. That's $1 million a month over 4 months. So we got 4 million in wages and we got nearly 7 million in a fee. And that's because they got to the Champions League final. So 4 million plus 7, or let's play 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. So we got close to 10 million off a Sancho deal for 4 months or 5 months or whatever it was. There's always context. We paid for Amrabat, was it a 10 million loan fee for a Fiorentina player that we never used across the season? And probably covered his wages as well. So all I'm saying is that you've got certain United fans and media that are basically just clients for Manchester United absorbing your brain cells with Man United were right to walk away from this deal. Oh, it's ridiculous. It would have been the worst loan deal. And then they're talking about he's only 19. He's only got 1 assist in his life. And that was when he was 6. And I'm like, I've never seen such a PR piece in my bloody life. Who at United's fed you that then? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, we know he's 19. We know all I've heard for the last year is how great TEL is and what a brilliant signing for United he would be. And now, because it would have cost us 8.3 million, it's like, oh, he's a load of shit. You can't do that. You can't buy potential. And yet, we've just bought 4 or 5 potential players, all teenagers. All right, Dorgu's 20. I just think when the shoe fits, it fits with some of our fans. And now 8.3 million for a loan deal is, we're absolutely right not to do that. But then we've done other deals like this. We've done deals with other clubs where we've had more money than this. And the big thing for me is that I don't actually think 8.3 million for 4 months when we absolutely desperately need a striker. Obviously, the Spurs desperately needed somebody. Man United desperately needed somebody. Bayern Munich are not going to go, we know you're desperate, let's do a reasonable fee of 5. Why would they? There's a desperation tax. And there was competition for him. So you've got a fair fee was probably about 5 million. But you've got desperation and competition. I mean, of course it's going to go up. And Spurs paid the price. We can't mock Spurs for paying a price like that when we got more from Dortmund for Sancho. And Dortmund are a Bundesliga side. They're not a Premier League side. So, yes, it's a lot of money. But I understand why Spurs have paid it. And whether we should have paid it or not, it's not incredibly ridiculous to pay that in the circumstances. And as I said again, if Spurs end up winning the Europa League or the FA Cup or something and get themselves back into Europe, that will be a drop in the ocean to the revenue they're going to get. And it's really a simple equation. If you're in Europe, you're earning tens of millions of pounds. If you're not earning anything. So spending 8 million or 8.3 million in the hope that that's going to get you there, in the risk that it will, makes sense mathematically. There are people out there going, no, we're right not to do that deal. And I sit here going, well, we might be right not to do that deal, but we were not right not to do any deal. Where was the backup? 31 days in January. January transfer window has been known about for months and we have nothing. And I look at that squad in an attacking sense and I go, we've got nothing. And what have we had for the last day? Spin, spin, spin. Why Man United couldn't spend money? Why Man United can spend money in the summer? Why Man United were right not to do this deal? And I think we got to be really careful here because this club is in terminal debt. This club is thinking about selling people like Garnacho and Mainu, and we've still got people being mouthpieces for a club that's being badly run, and we've got people being mouthpieces for, actually, it's great that United are cutting costs. And I'm like, can I just go back to the bottom line? You might agree that a 10-year plan of cutting costs to maybe win the league in 2035 is a good idea. 10 years is a long time in football. We've just had 10 years of it. Why should any United fan be on board for waiting another 5 to 10 years to win a title? Because Ineos say so. When there was an alternative of Glazers fucking off and money being pumped in. And we already know for a fact that if we didn't have debt, we'd have another 40 to 50 million pounds a year to spend, which can buy you 2 to 3 players every time as you do it in instalments. So yes, this is a strategy. Let's sack people, let's cut money to charities, let's sell youth players, and in 5 to 10 years' time, we might have a team that we've built that's good enough to win the league. But can I just give you a warning? Just because you buy a load of young players and they're decent, doesn't mean they're all going to be here in 5 years to be perfectly winning a title. What if being out of Europe is going to cost us a lot of money and the debt's going to cost us a lot of money, which it will? So in 3 years' time, Dorgu's a good player, but you sell him to Real Madrid for pure profit. What if, just a red warning flag there, this whole let's build for the future, what if on the way to building to the future, you're not in Europe, so you're losing money, so you have to sell your future? Thanks for watching. Get your comments in. I'm sure that's going to start something, but I just wanted to deliver the facts. Like, you know, I think there's people out there that are clearly promoting the football club and the Ineos Glazer structure, and the alternative is there. And if these people want to have a chat, the door is always open. They can take indirects, they can take directs, but the door is open. I've said to these people, come on, let's do it. But they won't do it because they know we're dealing in facts. We are using money from PSR on debt repayments. We did get more money from Dortmund than what Spurs are playing for TEL. And if we're not in Europe, it's tens of millions of pounds lost. And suddenly 8.3 million doesn't look like much of a punt, does it? You've got to look at Chelsea. 2 years ago, people were taking the piss out of them for spending 100 million on Enzo and Casido and everything like that. Chelsea are now a team in the top 4. They were in our position 2 years ago. There is no legacy of cutting costs and winning Premier Leagues. And suddenly, we've got owners who think that's the way to do it. The way to do it was to find the money to clear the Glazers out and clear the debt out. And that's how Ineos could have been successful. But they've gone down this austerity approach, cutting costs. And I just don't know. I just don't have any faith in it. I hope I'm wrong. Take care. Smash a like. Get your comments in below.